We are currently living in an age of constant stimulation, where a moment spent in silence seems as if a moment spent in hell. Due to the rise of TikTok, Instagram Reels, and now YouTube Shorts, short-form content has been dominating the internet and also our lives. These short-form videos usually offer small glimpses of everyday people, showing them at the apex of living. A surfer conquering a wave. A woman living her best life dancing the night away. An adventurous couple on their way to Machu Picchu. These 30-second glimpses shows us a life of constant movement, not once at all standing still. A life of never-ending excitement. I'm no saint in this. Advertisements for my work show glimpses of my job, adrenaline-inducing live fire training, photos of me and my unit traveling to far-off places. On the surface, my life looks as exciting as ever. But underneath the veneer of the smiling photos, exciting videos, there is one glaring fact that anyone who knows me cannot ignore. I am extremely boring. In my last video, I briefly talked about social media and how it went from a cool concept to a global commodity, giving us the ability to show the world small glimpses of our lives. These glimpses are oftentimes action-packed in order to give a sense of how awesome this or that person's life must be. Everything is fast, everything is loud, and everything is cool. More thrills, more tastes, more ways for one to feel alive. All of these are reasons I dread conversations that start with the question, "So what do you do for fun?" which oftentimes make me feel like I'm being held hostage. I can't avoid the question and I can't stall for time either, so with a proverbial gun to my head, I'm forced to answer honestly. I like to read. I like to draw, play video games, and I like to go to bed early. The seemingly eternal silence is usually broken by the response, "Wow. That sounds pretty boring." And I guess I am. And I've started apologizing less for it. What does it mean to be boring? Someone or something boring is usually so dull and uninteresting that they tend to make people tired and impatient. I can relate. I can't count the number of times my colleagues have absolutely roasted me for turning down an invitation to go to a bar or a club. Whenever they ask for an excuse, I just tell them the truth. I'd much rather just be at home. It's as if I told them to go fuck themselves, because where I'm from, rejecting an invite to a party elicits a reaction similar to tossing a newborn out the window. Dancing, partying, and living it up in general are the cornerstones of our culture. We even have Carnaval, a month-long tradition in February with parades, music, and dancing that puts our culture on full display. It's a tradition that brings people from all over the world so they can partake in the fun. And I avoid it like the plague. I'd usually get the same questions. Why on earth would you stay at home during Carnaval? Well, I just paid rent, and I don't know about you, but I like to get my money's worth by actually staying inside the place I give a third of my salary to. Dick. This paints the picture of someone who simply doesn't like going out. A non-entity. An unpleasant person. But here's the thing, I do enjoy going out. Just not in that sense. When I do go out, it's usually for a walk or a hike or to visit my parents, because not giving Caribbean parents attention will cause them to melt. Or go to one of the few bars on this island that doesn't play reggaeton or dembow. My idea of going out doesn't involve late nights or parties. It usually involves finding someplace quiet and being back home by 9 because I sleep at 10. A place where I can just sit in silence and watch the world go by. I've had a peculiar relationship with these aspects of myself, my boring self. Even though I recognize that this is what I truly want, I can't help but feel slightly ashamed or even embarrassed for not wanting to participate in the more typical aspects of life. And whenever I did participate in those activities, I'd be left with a sense of sheer inadequacy because I wasn't having fun. Like a beached whale, I'd just stand there, unable to move until I'd retreat back into the comforting depths of my home, my mind plaguing itself with the exact same questions that I just can't answer. Why aren't I having fun? How are they dancing? How are they laughing? Oh God, why did I come here? The solution that was often suggested to me for this, the universal remedy for external and internal woes, alcohol. Back when I was in boot camp, the only way I could enjoy myself when I was going out with my colleagues was by getting properly marinated. When I was drunk, I'd turn into a completely different person. I'd dance, I'd talk to people, and even became an enthusiastic hype man. I became all those things, and yet they weren't really me, just a version of me that I would like to be. That's when I came to this conclusion. If I have to resort to drinking poison just to become a certain version of myself, then maybe it's not worth it to be that person at all. So, in the interest of my emotional well-being, and for the sake of my liver, I slowly learned to embrace this part of me that truly defines a significant portion of my overall being. I am undeniably and unapologetically boring. This set me free in some sort of way, because in living in alignment with what I truly want, I found myself being more content with the way I live my life, comparing myself less and just being happy, I guess. Does it get lonely? Well, that depends on how I'm feeling at times. There are people in my life who, to be completely honest, I've neglected simply because I didn't want to engage. I didn't want to talk. I didn't want to leave. The more you decline invitations, the less people tend to reach out. And before you know it, the invites stop coming, and you are left with the desired solitude. It's liberating, but I'd be lying if I didn't say that sometimes I do fear that brick by brick, rejection by rejection, I have managed to create my own prison. However, there is a distinct difference between being alone and feeling lonely. Loneliness isn't a frequent sensation for me. Fortunately, I have people in my life who understand this facet of me, and I should be forever grateful for them. Being by myself and just doing the things I enjoy provides me with what I would call spelingsruimte, a Dutch term that means breathing room. I could be uninterrupted in my own thoughts and do my own thing without needing to consider the thoughts of another person around, or worse, burdening them. I know it sounds selfish, but there is no greater feeling than doing things at your own pace. Not having to slow down for those who lag behind, or speed up for those who are way ahead. I get emotionally drained very quickly. And I think years of working in the tourism industry has burnt out my social battery. Because I can handle about 20 minutes of small talk. After that, I start taking physical damage. There was a time where I'd force myself to do, well, just about anything in order to try to get to know a few more people. And it worked. I met lovely human beings. each with their own story, their reasons for being the way that they are, each with a different way of being alive. But I believe that connections formed during activities you're not particularly fond of don't usually create bonds as strong as those that develop naturally and organically while engaging in the things you truly enjoy. They seem more genuine and can last years, even lifetimes.